Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in less than 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. Thanks so much for tuning in today. We're talking about who's in and who's out at the White House and an update on Trump's trip to California. Plus, National Geographic's confession, Google's new Bitcoin policy, and Warren Buffett's $1 million promise. All that and much more in less than 10 minutes. I'm Erica Mandy. Today is Wednesday, March 14th. You ready? Let's do this. We start today with a big shakeup at the White House. President Trump is basically saying, "You're fired," to Secretary of State Rex Tillerson. And now he wants the CIA director, Mike Pompeo, to be the new Secretary of State. And yes, President Trump apparently announced it first in a tweet. At least the New York Times reports Tillerson himself found out when he saw that tweet. And he only got a personal call about it a few hours later as he got back from Africa. Fox News reports the president explained the decision later, saying he and Tillerson just disagree on big things, like the Iran nuclear deal. Trump and Pompeo, on the other hand, tend to agree on most of the foreign policy issues. So what now? Well, the Senate still has to give the new choice, Mike Pompeo, a thumbs up. And there will be a new CIA director to take Pompeo's place. If the Senate says yes, Gina Haspel will be the first woman ever to run the CIA. Supporters say she's well respected. Critics say she was involved in torturing detainees in the past, so it's a bit controversial. One more thing. Rex Tillerson wasn't the only one forced out this week. Trump's personal assistant was also fired. The Wall Street Journal says John McEntee couldn't get security clearance. Apparently he had some financial issues in his background, like possibly mishandling taxes and online gambling, but instead he'll be working on the 2020 Trump campaign. Well, President Trump did make it to California yesterday to see the 8 border wall prototypes in San Diego. Remember, this was his first trip to California since becoming president more than a year ago. He and Cali don't exactly get along well. In fact, during his trip, President Trump said the governor there in California is doing a, quote, terrible job. He bashed things like the taxes and immigration policies in the state. California's governor, though, had a comeback on Twitter and said, quote, California remains the 6th largest economy in the world and the most prosperous state in America. But back to the border wall. The Washington Post reports the prototypes were 30 feet high with various options. Some steel, some concrete, some have spikes, others are see-through. Trump wants $18 billion to build the wall he promised in his campaign, and it would happen over the next 10 years. He says it would bring safety and security at the border. There were protesters nearby, some who support Trump and the wall, others who are very against it and say it's just a sign of hate. President Trump also spoke to military members while he was there. He thanked them and talked about military investment. And then he mentioned something else, the possibility of a space force, like a military in space. He also went to a fundraiser in Beverly Hills last night. Right now, it's too close to call. The Hill reports we'll have to wait until at least later today to know who won the special election for a U.S. House seat representing Western Pennsylvania. Remember, this is the race between Democrat Conor Lamb and Republican Rick Saccone. A lot of people have been watching this election and say it kind of sets the tone for the midterm elections in November. This is a district that voted for Trump in 2016 and has typically been Republican. But now, which party will win is much more of a toss-up. Nobel Prize-winning scientist Stephen Hawking died early this morning. He wrote many popular books like A Brief History of Time. He's known for groundbreaking work about black holes and relativity. Hawking was diagnosed with ALS when he was 21, and Bloomberg reports he was one of the world's longest survivors of the disease. The 2014 movie, The Theory of Everything, was about his life. ABC News reports his family says he died peacefully at his home in England. He was 76. All right, other things people may be talking about today. Matt Damon and Ben Affleck's production company is committing to inclusion writers for future movies. What's that? Well, remember we talked about Frances McDormand's Best Actress speech at the Oscars and how she had all the women in the room stand up? Her closing words from the speech were, inclusion writer. So people have been talking about it ever since. The Hollywood Reporter explains that it means having requirements in contracts for gender and racial diversity, specifically in supporting roles like cinematographer and sound. Michael B. Jordan, an actor in the movie Black Panther, had already said his production company would have inclusion writers for all of its projects. National Geographic just admitted to being racist, at least in the past. The headline is, quote, "For decades, our coverage was racist. To rise above our past, we must acknowledge it." So here's the deal. National Geographic was working on an issue about race for April next month. And because it's 130 years old, it hired a historian to look at the magazine's own history and coverage over the years. The researcher found coverage that was not always good, that brown and black people were typically shown as non-technological and often unclothed, that the coverage did not show urban, educated Africans. The magazine's editor-in-chief told the New York Times she hopes Coming Clean shows people they're thinking about these things and want to do better. Apple is buying a digital subscription service that is said to be like the Netflix of magazines. So basically, you can read more than 200 magazines with one subscription that costs about $10 a month. It's called Texture, and word is if you already have a subscription, things won't be changing, at least for now. Google says ads for cryptocurrencies are not allowed starting in June. You know, cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and many others. Bloomberg reports the new policy will be for all of Google's platforms like Search and YouTube. Google seems to be following Facebook's lead on this one. Facebook put a similar ban in place back in January. So why is this happening? Well, the hype about Bitcoin and other virtual currencies has also led to scammers using online ads to promote fake cryptocurrencies. Google said last year it already took down millions of ads bought by hackers. Speaking of Google's YouTube, there's a new plan to fight conspiracy theories. Reuters says YouTube will start showing blurbs from Wikipedia articles next to some videos. It's meant to show something else, another perspective, next to videos that question things like, say, the U.S. landing on the moon. That new policy will start in a couple of weeks. So maybe your work has a March Madness bracket pool, but I bet it does not compare to this. If you get a perfect Sweet 16 bracket and work for Warren Buffett at his company Berkshire Hathaway, guess how much you could win? $1 million every year of your life. But again, that's only if one of his employees gets a perfect Sweet 16 bracket. Business Insider says even if no one gets that, the employee who goes the farthest in the company will win $100,000 for the best bracket. Not bad. This isn't the first time Warren Buffett has offered the big bucks during the college basketball tournament. In fact, in the past, he also offered $1 billion with a B to anyone who had a perfect bracket till the end. But that's literally never happened before, ever. And that's it. You are all caught up. Please keep sharing the newsworthy and recommending it to your friends and family. They probably want to save time and stay informed in a more positive way, just like you do. And don't forget to head on over to Instagram so we can connect and chat over there. Find me at Erica Mandy News. Of course, you can always read more about any of the stories that were mentioned in today's episode by checking out thenewsworthy.com. Just click episodes and find today's date. The Newsworthy is ready for you to listen every weekday by 4 a.m. Eastern Time. So we'll chat again tomorrow. Have a great day.